Do you think Kaepernick actually wants to play?
I'm not so sure. I'm certainly not going to say no because he was on the record saying that he did want to play. He's been working out 5 days a week as recently as February. So I'm certainly not going to cast any aspersions on his intent or anything like that. I'm not trying to denigrate in any way. What I'm simply saying is that, you know what, when he didn't show up for that workout originally, over about a year or last summer rather, I was saying that, you know what, he wants to be martyred. And what I meant by that is that this guy wants to tackle a lot of issues that extend beyond the field of play. And as a result, he wants to have a voice. He's working for Nike. We've seen the kind of commercials he's put forth. We recently learned that he's going to have a television platform or a talk show type platform where he's interviewing athletes and activists and having discussions along those lines. So because of that, one could make the argument that he'd have a profoundly more significant voice doing those things rather than playing football, although I would surmise he'd have a tremendous platform doing both and tremendous reach doing both, especially if he can still ball. And I think he can. But the point is that we don't know. I mean, listen, in the end, although, again, you know what, and I think that people misconstrued what I'm saying. He didn't lose out to Blaine Gabbert. He got injured, came back from an injury, got his job back and did what he had to do. Plus, he was being coached by Chip Kelly and Tom Sula at one point. So we know that was rough patches or whatever. But in the end, when you look at Colin Kaepernick, he's been out of the game for 3 full seasons. It'll be 4 years before he's really played football. We don't know what kind of game he's had. He's going to have it there, compared to the guys that are playing today. We just don't know. What we do know is that if he speaks, people will listen because we appreciate the position and the stance that he took, and more importantly, what it cost them because the NFL blackballed them, and now their comeuppance has arrived in terms of them having to be on their apology tours with all of their mea culpas because they know they did him wrong. His voice resonates. That might be incentive for him not to play. I simply don't know.
I believe Kaepernick wants to play. Not only have multiple sources close to the situation indicated that to me and explicitly stated that to me through these years, Stephen A., but the not working out was smart of Kaepernick. He wasn't a fool. The NFL sent him a different waiver than their normal waiver in order to have a workout because they were trying to smuggle things in that waiver in the guise of a workout. And Kaepernick wasn't going to sign it. And I don't have to redo the process of what all went down, but the games that the NFL were playing with Kaepernick's representation, the things they changed, the things they agreed to verbally, according to sources, and then what showed up in the paperwork, et cetera, the media that they alerted, like, hey, look at this, we're giving Kaepernick a workout, creating pressure for him to sign away rights to the NFL. It was a farce, and Kaepernick didn't fall for it. So the fact that he didn't work out says nothing to me about his desire to play football other than Kaepernick is not a fool. Okay, that's one. 2, has he stayed in shape? According to all reports, he looks great, and every time we've seen video of him, he does. Now, it's very different, that and playing in an actual game. But the NFL hasn't allowed him to play in an actual game under normal circumstances, only if you sign away these rights. So, yeah, I believe Kaepernick wants to play, and I'll tell you why else, Stephen A. And I talk about this with fighters. Matter of fact, I talk about this with Andre Ward sometimes, because Andre's retired, as you know, and he went out pound-for-pound champ, undefeated, in his prime, with big money fights lined up. He finally got to the really big money, and then he retired. And I said, are you sure you're retired? He said, yeah, I'm retired. But the more we talked about it, like he's never said under no circumstances in the future will he ever come back. He had to acknowledge that there were circumstances, and to my way of thinking, it's when the athlete knows, yeah, I can still do this, but I don't know for how much longer at this level, even if I try. And at that point, you find out if a fighter really wants to fight, if he wants to come back or not. And Kaepernick is at that point now. He's in his early 30s. He still should have the physical ability to do it, but that ability won't be here forever. And if you are one of the best athletes who ever lived, which an athlete on Kaepernick's, I know it sounds funny because he's not one of the best 20 quarterbacks, let's say, anymore, but to play at the level he plays, there aren't many guys who ever lived better athletes than that, right? When you're that, and you had dreams to play football, and you worked your whole life toward it, and it's this fleeting moment, who says you just want to give that up? You want to get that in while you still can. It wasn't like he got beaten down to the point where I can't run through that brick wall anymore. That's not what happened to Kaepernick. So I do believe he wants to play, just as he has always stated he does.
Well, first of all, a couple of things. Number one, there wasn't specific media who was alerted. Everybody and their grandmother knew, because the whole media got wind of what was transpiring
Leaked
in
by
terms
the
of that
NFL.
initial workout. And what I'm saying, leaked by the NFL, whatever. The point is that it came out. Somebody usually gets it, and then the whole world has it within minutes. That's all I'm saying. It happened. Everybody knew about it. That's number one. Number two, that waiver, your position on it is entirely different than mine. Number three, there were an abundance of African Americans who were player personnel and scouting and under GMs and what have you that were all going to be in attendance. Plus, camera crews were going to be there as well. So I'm not of the mindset that it was the wisest thing for him to do, not to have to work. And I respect the fact that you feel differently. That's cool. It's no big deal. In the end, what it comes down to, again, is that it's been since 2016 that he has played. And considering his voice and how it resonates, particularly in these times, it will be very interesting to see how much he really, really wants to play. I know he's on the record. And oh, by the way, it ain't about sources telling you that he wants to play. They've told everybody he wants to play. We've been hearing that. It's a matter of whether or not you believe him. And what I am saying is, I believe that he meant it when he said it. I think that as time goes on and we see the culture that we're living in and how profound his voice will be, he might, I'm not saying it's true, I don't know, but you might not even want to preoccupy yourself with playing the game as opposed to the kind of things that he's looking to do to transcend the sport. He probably wants to do both. But I'm telling you right now, I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows other than him specifically, his girl Nessa, and their camp. I don't think they know.